Mike Bohn joined today by former UFC champion Holly Holm. Holly, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, just running around, busy as usual.
Appreciate you taking some time from the slopes. You were shredding the other day, weren't you?
Yeah. There's a mountain literally right here by Albuquerque, but it doesn't always have snow. So when it does get snow, you got to take advantage of it. But it's not that it has a huge, base on it right now. But they had like quite a few days last week when it snowed here and there. So it wasn't bad.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you done much of that over the years, or are you still kind of a novice when it comes to the snowboarding?
Um, I'm very comfortable on it. I've been doing it for quite I just don't do as much as I used to. I used to do a lot of jumps. Now my jumps are like, I'll get like a foot in the air and I'm like, awesome. But I can, like, I'm comfortable on it. I can go down anything and I'm not like a professional by any means, but I'm very comfortable on it. I just like to kind of just haul butt down the mountain.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a lot of fun. So when I reached out to try to talk to you, I thought we were kind of be in an awkward position here because I know the past few months, like you've been trying to get a fight, and it's been a bit of a struggle for you. I've seen kind of your coaches talking about that and trying to get you back in there, but great timing. You got a
Oh,
fight coming up. You're fighting Julianna Pena on May
yeah.
8th. So how exciting was that to finally get something booked?
Gosh, it was one of those things where I really didn't know when I was going to be able to fight again. We were waiting for answers from Jermaine. She said no, and Pena said no. She wanted to, from what I understand, she said she only wanted a title fight. And a lot of the other top girls were either already scheduled or just fought. And I thought, man, I don't even know who I'm going to fight or when. And I thought, I'm just going to keep drilling, keep trying to get better, and then if something comes up, it comes up. But I didn't really know. And then, sure enough, boom, Pena took the fight, and we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm excited to have that scheduled and just have that goal. I'm always training, but it's always fun when you actually have a goal in mind and that deadline and that date, so that it keeps you kind of it gives you purpose for your day. You wake up with a goal, and so you can just go put all that hard work in and have it be for a purpose.
And I know you're a pretty laid back person as it is, and you're, as you said, always training. But were you getting frustrated at a point there? Like, I imagine at this stage of your career, waiting around is something you're not wanting to do for too long.
I try to never force anything. I always say I want to ride the wave, but I definitely don't want to just sit back and do nothing about it and not try and be, proactive about moving forward in my career. So it's kind of a balance I try to keep. I like to let things happen and just make the most of everything as it comes, but I also don't want to just, you can be waiting for other things to happen and not do anything yourself to kind of push for that. So, um, I was a little frustrated that it was like, man, how long is it going to be? It's already been a while since I fought. And so it was just October. So it's been 4 months already without having even anything scheduled. And I think, too, coming from boxing, I was fighting 4 times a year, even 6 times a year at one point. So just to go like, twice a year, once a year, whatever is, it's kind of a different thing for me. But I know that they're also big fights and on, against the best in the world. And so they've been good, and my training has been doing well, and I've been improving. So I'm not going to be mad about the road I've been on right now. I'm going to keep doing what I can. And, now we just have something set. So let's just pick it up and go.
Yeah, and did you like the matchup with Juliana there? I mean, I know that you talked about Duran to me a little bit too. That was a rematch I think a lot of people wanted to see, and it seemed like the timing makes sense. I mean, do you like this matchup with Juliana more, or where do you kind of think in
Um,
that sense?
I think the fight with Jermaine was something I definitely was wanting, because I wanted to get in there and avenge that loss. And I think not only myself, but a lot of people wanted to see that happen. But like I said, if you put too much of your thought into one thing and get so focused on one thing that you can, not be really ready for change or not really be ready for what is in front of you. And so, yes, that's something I wanted, but not something that I put, you know, everything on. I didn't just be only focusing on Jermaine, you know, because I knew if that didn't happen, it might be something else. So I'm glad to be able to have this fight with Pena. And I feel like there's almost been talk of it almost happening here or there. And so I figured I would wind up fighting her at some point. So here we are.
Yeah, I imagine you feeling like coming off the last performance, you must feel pretty good. That was just such a sensational one for you. I mean, you set a record for yourself for strikes landed, for takedowns, and that win. How good were you feeling coming off that last fight?
I feel great about it, and I know that I have that in me, and I know I have those capabilities, and I know that I've been learning and improving and getting better. You know, I came from boxing. I also had some kickboxing in my background, but boxing was my main, um, my main martial art, basically. It wasn't, I never did grappling, I never did wrestling until literally my first training camp for MMA. And so to be able to come in there and be able to show people that I am evolving as a mixed martial artist and I'm a well-rounded fighter is something that I know I've been working on, and I'm glad that it's finally showing in my fights. And I know that that hard work was going to be, it was going to catch up with me, and I knew I was going to be able to perform it at some point. You don't just practice for nothing. And so I definitely was happy to be able to show that in a fight. And I think that it's just something that shows these girls that they're not only worried about one thing with me anymore. When I first came into MMA, it's like, watch out for her boxing. And I started kicking people, to watch out for her kicks. It's like, well, just try and take her down. And it's like, now I'm going to take you down. So it keeps me driven to keep wanting to get better. And I want to beat everybody at their best game. I don't want to just come in and be a one-dimensional fighter. I want to be able to do any bit of it. I want to feel comfortable in any position I am in a fight.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy to think about your MMA journey. I mean, it'll be 10 years since your MMA debut on March 4th, 6 years, your UFC debut on Sunday. So it's like you've been doing this for a very long time. I mean, you've almost been fighting MMA as long as you were boxing.
Yeah, and what's crazy is I remember going into MMA, I was already, almost 30 years old. I think I was 29 at the time. And everybody thinking at that point was even talking about retirement, and even like a lot of haters from the boxing side saying, I'm taking the easy route out because I haven't fought this last person or that last. I'm like, easy route. I'm starting a whole new career at almost 30, but that's why I always just say I'm the author of my own book, and I'm going to keep doing what I want to do and keep doing what I feel is best. And I know what's in my heart. I know what my passions are. I know how I feel, and I know what I'm capable of, and nobody else does. They can have their opinions, but really when it comes down to it, I'm living my life and I'm writing my story. So here we are. I didn't think I'd actually even be in MMA this long, but I actually didn't put like a okay, I'm going to do this for a few years and be done, or I didn't really have like a timeline for it. I just thought, this is what I feel like doing, this is what I'm passionate about, and so this is what I'm going to do. And there's been plenty of times throughout my career that people have thought I should have retired, and then at this point it's like, well, obviously this is why I don't listen to other people, because then I wouldn't have had these last wins that I've had. I wouldn't have been able to be a champion in both, boxing and MMA. I wouldn't have been able to experience a lot of the ups and downs and just like this journey that has taken me through from all of my martial arts competitions. So I'm still very passionate about MMA, and I know that I'm still learning. So I'm ready to keep going forward.
Yeah, and it's crazy. You talk about this journey from boxing to MMA. There's someone who is doing something quite similar, who I know you're seeing in the gym, in Claressa Shields. What did you make of her coming in? And just tell me a little bit about training together and what you've kind of seen in her so far as she tries to do a similar thing as you did.
I think some of the biggest things I truly feel going from one sport to another is being humble, being disciplined, and having your own self-drive and ambition. And if somebody has all those things, then they can do it. I think that she has the ambition, she has the dedication, she has the self-motivation. and if it's something that she wants to do and puts her heart to, she's a fast learner. She'll be able to pick this stuff up. She's not new to being in the spotlight. She's not new to pressure being on her. So there's a lot of things that she's already experienced that is going to, every time you've experienced something in life, it's easier the next time, the next time, the next time. She's been in front of big stands. She's been in front of a lot of eyes, just even as an amateur, being in the Olympics and everything. When I was an amateur, I was fighting in front of 200 people, 300 people. And so, then my pro fight was already like a lot. And then my first title fight was like, wow, it was kind of a different feeling. And then going into MMA, it's, still was more people watching at that time than what had been watching in my career. So she's going to have some familiarities of that. And anytime you experience it once, it's always easier the next time around. Something that I had was maybe a little more comfortable for me was that I had a little bit of kickboxing in my background. And she hasn't had the kickboxing necessarily in her background, but she's had a more kind of like a bigger amateur career, maybe more experience in that before even becoming a pro. So she's a step ahead of the game with a lot of that kind of stuff. So and you don't get there if you're not a hard worker, if you don't have athletic ability, if you don't have, kind of that natural talent. So I definitely think that she can cross over as long as she keeps up with how she's doing it. And she's putting time and dedication into it. And I think that she can do well.
Were you surprised to see her make the move, though? I mean, she's at the top of the game in boxing, but has been very vocal about how she thinks women's boxing can be sexist, and there's just a lot of things that she doesn't like about the game and where it's at right now, and it seems to have led her down this road to MMA. Can you kind of see where she's coming from in that sense?
Yeah, I do think that there is a bigger kind of difference between men and women in boxing than there is in MMA. I do feel MMA, you don't really see women in boxing headlining major fight cards, but you will see that in MMA. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really the simplest way to kind of put that perspective. With that being said, I know that men's boxing is even an older sport than MMA. So the catch up over there is maybe bigger. However, women's boxing still has been around longer than women's MMA. So it still should be further along, and it's, I do feel that, I think before a lot of the skill set of the women's boxing was maybe not as skilled as they are now. And now, meaning over the last, 10 years or 50, whatever, even 20 years. Because before that, I mean, men's boxing was there. And if there was women's boxing, it's like if you saw a women's fight, it really wasn't maybe super skilled. But these women are very skilled. And I know that was all, even when I was boxing, that there's a lot of skilled women's fighters out there. Same thing with MMA. You start to see these girls coming in MMA now. And it's like, they have the wrestling, they have the grappling, they have all of that. Even wrestling, women weren't necessarily doing it on like that high level like men were. So I definitely think it's kind of a twofold situation. It's like you need to have the opportunities, but you also need to have the girls that are willing to put in the work to show that we deserve to get paid. And I do feel that girls are doing that. They are doing the work. They are skilled. They're showing that we're just as entertaining. We're just as skilled. We go out there and we actually I think a lot of times women fight even with like slightly bit more passion, just because we're passionate people by nature. That's just the way it is. So I think that we just have to keep working as females. We can't necessarily just have everything handed to us, but I do think that at this point we've shown that there is a reason why people should watch our fights. And because that's really what it is. It's like you can say you want to get paid as much as men or this or that, but if people don't want to watch you, or if people don't, then that's kind of hard. But you have to, it's everything all together. You have to have a promotion willing to do it. You have to have people who are willing to put belief in you. You have to have even sponsors that are like, you know what, I want to sponsor a female. And I think that people like myself, like Claressa, and that really want to put in the hard work and have a passion for it, can show that there's a reason why people want to watch us fight.
Absolutely, that's great insight. And I don't want to make you kind of reveal what you've seen inside the gym from her, but as she goes and tries to kind of make this career in MMA too, do you think it's possible to balance both sports? Or do you think if she wants to, I don't know if her aspirations are to be like a champion in MMA, but if she wants to get there, is it possible to do both at the same time? Or do you think she needs to commit 100% to this sport and maybe not take a boxing fight here or there or something like that?
I guess that's really not for me to say. I think that is individual to each, person. That's what's inside of them. If that's something that she's really passionate for, then who am I to say that she can't do that? I was doing it back and forth for quite some time, a year or two, I guess. I was going back and forth, and I'd fight boxing, MMA, boxing, MMA, boxing, MMA. And that's when I had 6 fights in 1 year. I alternated every other fight. And it was an awesome roller coaster. And for me, I just got to the point where I just really, if I had a boxing fight, I just wasn't as passionate about training for it as I would be in my MMA. And so that's when I thought, you know what, I need to follow what my heart's telling me. And my heart's telling me that I want to be involved and put my passions forth in MMA. So that's why I chose to step away from boxing. If she still has this passion for boxing, then who's to tell her to leave it behind and only chase this other dream? I do feel that I got more work in with MMA when I went 100%, but that's not to say that somebody else can't do both. I did both for a couple years, and who knows, maybe she'll say, you know what, I'm passionate about MMA now too, and make the complete switch. Or maybe she'll be like, I loved my experience with MMA, but I just really still love boxing. Maybe she's going to do both. I think that that's definitely up to her. And a lot of times you don't really know how you're going to feel. I like to take one fight at a time and see how I feel going forward. And I've done that my whole career, and I don't feel like it's been done me wrong. So I just keep doing that. And who knows what, she's a different person than I. So I think that she will find her path that she wants. She's obviously not done too bad with her path so far. She's been very successful doing what her passions are and what she's putting her time and energy into. So I think that she should just definitely do whatever she feels like doing, whatever her heart desires.
For sure. And either way, a big move for the sport. I can't wait to see kind of what her path is. And I think, it's really awesome that she's going to give it a try. But the other person who starred in that TikTok video with you and her when she arrived at the gym was Jon Jones. How's he looking going into heavyweight debut? And you think that's probably going to happen this year? Is he looking ready for that weight class, do you think?
I know he's been putting a lot of time and effort into getting stronger and just taking care of himself. I think Jon always knows how to kind of take a lot of pressure and embrace it. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that there's a lot of things that makes Jon great. There's a lot of things that makes Jon unbeatable. And one of those things is that he really does well with a lot of pressure. A lot of people in his position where everything is expected of them sometimes don't really perform super well, even if they train super hard, And I think he really knows that he's doing what he needs to do. He's putting in the time to get stronger and know that he's going to make this change and really embrace it and jump in 100% and do everything he needs to do to be ready. I think everybody it's hard not, like, I always have so much confidence in Jon because it's almost like he doesn't know how to lose, really. When he goes in there, it's like it's almost expected that he's going to win by so many people. And then if there's any fight that's like that somebody gives him a little bit of a fight, then they're like, I don't know. It's like, just because it's a close fight doesn't mean that people are so used to him dominating that it's like, even if somebody gives him like a really tough fight, then they already question it because they're just so used to so much domination. But Jon knows how to handle that. He's always, you go look at all of his fights, he's always the one pulling away in those championship rounds. He's a champion for a reason. And he's not going to go to heavyweight and just do it, half-ass. He's going to jump in. And I think we all know that he's not just going to go in thinking wants to just try it out. He's going to go with purpose. He's going to go with intent. He's going to go with the will to want to do it. And in order to do so, he's going to do it right. And that's what he's always done. He knows what's ahead of him. He's going to go put the time in. He is one of those people, and I've said this before, his kind of like his like focus and his, when he's training, it's like he can be there like just drilling something over and over and over and spend the time. Like once he starts his practice, it's like he can really dive into things and want to keep going and going and going and going and actually be present. After a while, a lot of fighters just start going through the motion because it's not just physically tired, but your brain's tired from constantly focusing. And his fight IQ is just so like detailed, and he's so focused. And I know that he's not gonna just go into heavyweight and not do everything that he needs to do. So I know he's doing the work he's got to do. I know he's getting strong, and if he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it right, basically. So to make a short story long, like my dad says, if he's gonna do it right. And I feel like he's doing what he needs to do.
Yeah, and I imagine, of course, he's a good friend and a teammate, but you're pretty confident those skills translate well to that heavyweight division. I mean, those are some scary guys up there. We just saw what Derek Lewis did to Curtis Blades last weekend.
There are some scary guys at heavyweight. I mean, I think a lot of other weights, anybody can get knocked out. We see knockouts at the lightest weights. It happens. It can happen. Mm-hmm. It's definite. If you look at statistically how many heavyweights get knocked out compared to how many lightweights, it's different. Mm-hmm. There's definitely a higher percentage. Every punch that's thrown has a little more of that factor, that if I ever like that. But one thing that I know I have confidence on, he wouldn't take this leap if he didn't feel like he can go in there and do it. And on top of that, he's already a very tall, I don't know how many heavyweights are actually taller than him. And he's very strong. And his skill set, I believe, is just better. He has a better skill set. He's already as tall as them. He's like, I don't think people really think about that a lot. They're like, oh, he's going up in weight and these guys are big. It's like, yeah, they are big. Jon's a big guy. And if you've ever stood next to him, he's a big guy. He's not a small 205er. He's tall, he's long, he's skilled, and he's got more speed, and he's got, like I said, his skill is just is on another level. So I think he can go in and do very well.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. It's going to be really exciting, especially if he fights for the belt right away against the Miocic versus Ngannou winner. So we'll see how all that unfolds. But just to circle back to you before I let you go, what do you think this fight against Julianna means? I mean, of course, just coming up very soon here, we have Amanda Nunes fighting Megan Anderson. I know that's happening at 145, but Amanda, of course, still the champ at 135 as well. I know you are pushing towards that title shot once again. You want to end your career with the belt. You said this many times before, but where does this fight kind of fit into that? And do you think potentially with a win here, you're back in that title fight again?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this fight. And a lot of times when people are waiting to fight the title, there's so many girls that want that. And so what makes that even harder is that Amanda fights at 2 different weight classes. So every time she fights isn't even going to be at our weight class all the time. So to just sit and wait for only that opportunity is just, I want to do what I can to show that I deserve to be there for the belt, number one. And number two, I don't want to only just think that my whole life is only about this one fight left or, this one opportunity. I want to be able to I should have enough confidence that I'm just going to be like, you know what? I'll fight anybody in the weight class. I definitely want the fights to make sense. I don't want to fight someone ranked 15. What does that do? Why would I be doing what I'm doing? I want to fight the top girls because in order to be the best, you have to beat the best. So yes, I want to fight the top ranked girls. And so I know that might not always, I'm not just always waiting for only the title fight, but yes, I'm working I want to fight to get there. That's the whole goal. Otherwise, what am I doing this for? I'm not doing it just for the paycheck. I'm not doing it just to participate. I'm not doing it just to say I did it. I'm doing it for a purpose. I'm doing it because I want to be the best in the world. And in order to be the best in the world, I have to fight the best in the world and beat them, which is for the belt. So whatever I need to do to get there, making the obviously right decisions for that. Like I said, I don't want to, it's not like I want to fight a debuter. I want to fight the top in the world, because otherwise other fights wouldn't show that I'm ready for that title fight.
And you being in there with both of them, is there any chance in your mind, does Megan Anderson go in there and shake up the world and potentially pull off an upset? Do you think she can do that?
I truly feel that Amanda's going to win this fight. But I'm always that person that thinks everybody has a puncher's chance. You know, Amanda, I don't believe, has ever really fought anybody quite as tall as Megan. Megan's very, very tall. She's very tall. She's the tallest person I've ever fought. But even for me, being my size against Megan, I still felt stronger in the clinch. I still felt things like that. Megan's improved since I fought her too, so you never know what you're going to see. But I do feel that Amanda's going to win the fight. But that doesn't mean that I just count everybody out. If I would think like that, then I wouldn't be where I'm even at today. So I'm excited to watch the fight. I think that if Megan wins, I'm going to say I think it would be off of I don't want to say a lucky punch, because when you're training at this level, I don't think anything's really lucky, but it would have to be off of I don't see her, you know, just dominating Amanda in any situation, or, you know, beating her in a lot of these like areas. But I'm not saying that there's a 0 chance. There's always a chance that somebody can win. Always. I don't care who you are. So I think, you know, she's gonna. Let's just say, I truly feel that Amanda's gonna win the fight. The things that might give her a little bit of a different challenge than some of the other girls is that Megan's reach is long, her legs are long. She's just kind of got a different style. I don't think that it's going to be too much of a problem. I think that Amanda will be able to adjust to that and still be able to perform what she wants, but anything can happen.
For sure. And last thing, to circle back to you, I mean, what kind of fight are you expecting with Julianna? I mean, this, from my understanding, this is going to be 3 rounds. I know you're usually used to pacing yourself for 5. So does that allow you to turn that output up even higher? Are you expecting a very dominant performance like you had against Irene? Do you think she's going to be able to pose some problems for you? What are you kind of expecting on May 8th?
I think that Pena, she's got some skill she has skill in each aspect of the game. People see her scrapping on their feet and kind of being tricky on the ground, but she's kind of like, I think that her style, she's like a scrappy fighter, so she can make a fight look messy. There's some fighters like that. I think that she's definitely like that. You can't ever count her out. Her last fight, I don't feel that she was necessarily winning until she finished the fight, so you can't ever count her out. You know, she's not going to be mentally beat, really. I think that she's not scared. She gets in there with every intent to want to win. You know, there's a lot of things that make her, you know, there's a lot of things that give her strengths in a fight. I truly feel that I can do better in every situation. So that's what I'm going to do.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely looking forward to it, Holly. I'm glad that we're talking today under good circumstances where you're happy and you're not upset to not have a fight or anything. So I really appreciate the time, and best of luck with camp, and definitely look forward to seeing you back in there.
I appreciate it. Thanks. I appreciate it.